Good morning and welcome. My name's Karen Williams. Welcome to our breakfast event for March. It's exciting to be here with you this morning on this early Friday morning. I can see that many of you are jumping on, so welcome. And we have James here as well, and Georgie is here as well. So we'd love to welcome you into this conversation today. So if you're here for the first time, my name's Karen Williams. I'm a transformational leadership coach. We work with organisations helping people work better together. And we also work one-on-one and in groups with women in leadership and business, helping them lead and influence and communicate with confidence, presence and awareness. So it's work that I'm deeply passionate about, and I love these breakfast webinars because they're a chance for you to take a pause moment to reflect and refresh and reset. These are an opportunity for you to take your focus off just for a moment on all the things that you know you need to do and focus on who you want to be and create who you want to be. So this is your opportunity to dig in deep, look and see what's working for you, maybe what might be tripping you up or holding you back in your leadership, in your communication, in your relationships, and see if you can find something new today, something that you haven't seen before about what could help you develop in what you want to develop in. So I'm excited about this conversation today about forgiveness and about letting go of the grudges and letting go of the regrets was suggested to me by a beautiful woman by the name of Kelly. And she's a regular on these webinars, and also we've done some work together. And she's an incredible leader. She's a courageous, brave, big-hearted woman that I really admire and who inspires me. So I'm excited to talk to you about this topic and also to hear what's present for you around this topic. What does forgiveness mean to you? Is it easy or hard for you to forgive? Is there different people that you'll never forgive, or that there's people that you forgive easily? Do you hold on to regrets of things that you might have done in the past, maybe that you wish you could have done differently? Or are there things that you think about other people and wish they had done differently, and that you may not be able to get over that grudge with them? And so those are the things that we'll talk about today. And so as we go through this session, make sure you've got your notebook and your pen, make sure that you take some notes. Even if you take one thing away from these breakfast webinars, then for me, that's high value. And that's really worth being here, worthy of your time, worthy of my time. What I love about these webinars is that they're a co-creation. So we create it together. And what that means is I share a little bit, you share a little bit, and we have a conversation. That's when I can offer you the best value for you too, because your questions help me to take you deeper and help give you even more awareness about what's working and not working in your life and where you'd like to take it. So I'd love to hear where you're dialing in from and who's on the call today. So if you'd like to put in the chat box anytime through this morning about any thoughts that you have, or if you just want to say hello, I'm ready for your thumbs up and your comments. And so we'd love to know who's here on the call and where you're dialing in from. So take a moment to pop that in the chat box, and I think everyone else would love to see who's on as well. So if you take a moment to do that, that would be amazing. And as you do that, I'd like to share with you my vision. My ultimate vision is an ever-expanding group of powerful, empowered women around the globe, women who are doing the self-improvement, personal development work on themselves consistently, because that enlivens their life and also enriches their relationships. And then those women are then causing a ripple effect, contributing to the world, whether that's in their family, in their community, as a leader in their workplace or in their business, and they're having an impact in the world that they want to have, that's on purpose, it's with consciousness, and it has a ripple effect with the people around them, such that the people around them experience themselves to be empowered and great as well. So that's my ultimate vision, and that's one of the things about these webinars, is that we're creating that community. And also I'll share with you at the end of this call a couple of other things that we're doing that is helping to evolve that dream I've had now for quite a few years. So I'm excited that you're part of this journey. I want to acknowledge you for being here and investing in yourself this morning. You could have been doing a million other things today already. You could have been in bed, you could be out doing something, or you could already be at work, but you've chosen to spend this hour on yourself and with us. So I really appreciate and thank you for your time. So let's see, I don't have anything in the chat box yet, so I'm waiting. Oh yes, I do, I haven't opened it. So let me see. Hello, Sophia. Excellent, from Sydney. I know it's been so long. I saw your name the other day and I thought, oh, I wonder when she'll be back. Okay, so someone, who's that? Anne's dialing in from home. Awesome. Hi, Anne. And good morning to Sarah as well. So I know that you're here. There's a few more people on the call, so hopefully that you feel comfortable to say hello. And when you do, I know that there's some people that jump on a few minutes after 7:30 because they're running around getting kids breakfast or getting ready for work. And sometimes people are listening in the car or, you know, at work while they're doing other things. So if that's you and you can't check in today or you can't ask a question, hopefully those questions will be answered for you. All right, so who else is here? Chloe's here, Diana's here, Tracy's here. Hi, Trace. Excellent. Awesome, and quite a few people from Melbourne, from home, juggling kids. Yep, okay, thanks, Carolyn. All right, so when we talk about forgiveness, what do you think about forgiveness? A great question, I think, that I was asked earlier by James, actually. James has some great questions when we're getting ready for these sessions. Is it harder to forgive yourself or to forgive others? And you know, what I think is that we think it's harder to forgive others, especially for those people, I know there's a lot of you on the call like this, who are very giving people. I know Georgie's like this, very giving, often put ourselves last if we're that kind of person, always thinking of others, go to the end of the earth for others. And those people find it very difficult to put themselves first. But then when their trust is broken or they don't get the same in return, that can be very difficult for them, and that's understandable. And so sometimes we give our trust fully, don't we? And we're not always discerning about who we should give our trust to. And then what we find is when our trust is broken, it's hard to forgive. And when I'm working with women, especially women in this space, it can be about learning and understanding, how can I be discerning about who I give my trust to first, rather than giving all my trust and then maybe regretting it later and not being able to let go of that grudge, or maybe forgiving but never forgetting, which is really not forgiving at all. And so those are the things I invite you to think about today. And it can be about, you know, when we're thinking it's about someone else that we want to forgive or need to forgive, often it can be about, underneath that is the forgiveness of ourselves. What did I do that maybe I could have done differently for myself? What did I do that maybe triggered something in another or in myself? Or what did someone else do that I let happen? And there's no blame here. It's about looking for, where can I be responsible for myself and my well-being so that I can learn about how I want to be going forward. Because as I've said to you before, looking back on the past is one step, but we don't want to stay stuck there analysing ourselves, figuring out everything about why everything happened. And why I say that is because I learned from experience. I did that for over a decade. And then I woke up one day and went, hang on, I'm looping here. I'm sure I'm getting all this amazing awareness, but some practical things in my life aren't changing. And I looked at the people around me who were on the same journey as me, and I looked at their lives and went, I don't want that life. I know there's more available to me. And so I shifted from analysing myself and my past and trying to figure it all out and who did what wrong, to actually starting to let go of that and move forward and start to fall in love with the future that I was creating. Start to romance the future that we're looking toward. And if you don't know what that is, it's only because you haven't spent enough time thinking about it, imagining it, creating it. And so today is about letting go of some of those things to free you up so that you've got more space and more interest and desire in looking forward. So I hope that's why you're here. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. All right, so I know that there's someone using the, I think there's a question here on our new message. Okay. All right, fantastic. Wonderful to see you, Jazz. Lisa's here as well. Amazing. All right, so there's going to be three things, as we know, the think and the do and the leave, which is what I talk to you about each time. So today, I want you to think about what you're holding on to. What are some of the things that are from your past that you know are stuck? Stuck in your heart, stuck in your gut, stuck in your throat maybe. When you think about them, they get you somewhere. You know, they kind of, there's a gut-wrenching feeling or a heartbreaking feeling. have a think about those things that you're holding on to. And I'm not saying it's valid that you don't feel that way. So I'm not saying it's not valid that you feel that way. But I want you to reflect today on, is that helping me? Is holding on to that, even though it's valid, helping me move forward in the way that I want to? Or is it actually making it harder or slowing me down? One of the things that I found for me, it was slowing me right down. And ever since starting to release a lot of those things, the things that I wanted just to speed up. And that's, that's fun. So I want you to think about what's holding you back or where you're holding on. I want you to reflect on today, the doing is. So make sure you're writing this down, reflecting on why you would want to let go. So an incredible young woman by the name of Sarah Montana, I'll send you her TED Talk in our follow-up email. An incredible woman, articulate, and had been through a number of years ago a horrific experience. And this is an extreme, but it's worth talking about or mentioning. And so she went through an experience where her mother and brother were killed. And she found herself tied in her emotions to the person who'd done that horrific thing. And what she discovered one day, after going through many years of looking for how to forgive or how to let go, she discovered that it wasn't worth holding on anymore and absorbing herself in this horrific memory, because she was thwarting herself from fulfilling the future that she really wanted. And the way that she said this, and I'll read this out to you, was losing myself in order to punish him and keep my mum and brother alive felt like too high a cost to bear. And choosing myself was more important than being right. And I think that's such a powerful statement. Choosing myself was more important than being right is something that I want you to consider for yourself. Whatever your piece of what you're holding on to, there's part of you that's being right about that shouldn't have happened to you, or I shouldn't have done that. So it could be being right about yourself or being right about others. But my question to you, is it worth it? Is it worth being right so that you have that impact on yourself? Yeah. So why we would want to let go. And then I want you to leave with a sense of true empowerment so that you get to choose. Because as Sarah says, maybe you're not ready to forgive. Maybe you're not ready to let go. And in the past, I might have pushed myself to do that anyway, but we just bounce back, don't we? If it's not authentic. There's a balance here between, am I ready to let go, or am I still just wanting to stay right? And you get to choose when that time is ready for you. But I want to challenge you today and go, maybe it is time now. Maybe you are ready and it's time for you to be courageous to let go. So I want you to leave with a sense of empowerment about letting go. You get to choose, right? And that's really important because it puts you back in the state of empowerment. When you know, yes, I want to forgive and there's some work that I need to do to get there, or I want to let go of the regret that I have, or about where I think I should be by now. That was a big one for me, and sometimes still pops up in my mind, but very rarely now. But in my 40s, that was a big conversation internally for me about where I thought I should be by now. I should have this and I should have this sorted. And I had to let that go because I was the only one doing it to myself. So have a think about what you're holding on to today, reflecting on where you want to let go and why, and also I want you to leave with an empowerment of your choice. And so I invite you to be intentional about these three things. So you and I creating this conversation together, making sure that you have this as an intention. All right, so let me know if you've got any questions about that, or if there's anything you want to share about that so far. As I rub this off, you might just want to have a reflect and make some notes. Or if you're busy with kids, park it in the mind for later. Okay. One of the things that, this area of forgiveness for myself, when I was working with young people and bringing them together in a circle, young people who committed a crime, with the people who'd suffered their crime, so the victims. And there was a police officer that would sit opposite me, and then community members, and also the parents of each of the offender and victim. You know, I learned through that process, through those few years of doing that process, that forgiveness is possible no matter what's happened. And it really is about the responsibility that we're willing to take for how we feel. And so, yes, we want to know why something happened and why someone did what they did to us. And in your situation, maybe you'll never know. Even if we ask the person or the people the questions and they tell us, we might not know that that's true. And so we have to, at some point, come back to ourselves and take responsibility for the feelings that we're having about what happened. And if we can focus there and own that and acknowledge that and experience that, then that is part of the pathway to forgiveness and letting go. And letting go so that we can be all of who we want to be. Because we can't be all of that if we're still bringing that with us. And so while we might think forgiveness and the ability to forgive relies on the other person doing something, or the other person being remorseful, or the other person saying something that we specifically want to hear, if we're holding on to that, then we could hold on to that and depend on that forever. And it's your choice as to where you draw the line and say, you know what, I'm actually have no control over that. I need to come back to self and go, okay, what can I control? And can I allow these feelings so that I can move through and let go? So that's a really big part of forgiveness, is finding out for yourself, where are you dependent on someone else? Okay, so I want you to have a think about that. All right. As Sarah said, and this other piece I wanted to give you at this point was, I refused, and she actually ended up, I think it was about 8 years after the incident, she wrote a letter to the person who was doing back-to-back life sentences in prison. And she wrote a letter to him, not to forgive him, but to free herself. And one of the things she said was, in her letter, I refuse to let one thing that happened on one day be kind of restrict me from being whole. And I didn't think that I could forgive, but if I reduced you to that one moment in that one day, then I'm reducing myself to that moment in that one day as well. And so I thought that was really powerful to give you today about, where are you reducing yourself to one moment in one day about something that you're holding on to? Yeah. So that, to me, is something, a lens to look through as we go through this session today. All right, so the first step here in this process is, well, why would I want to forgive? Okay, why would I want to forgive if it's hard and it requires courage and it feels really good to be right about someone else and that they should have done something different? Or it feels good to be angry about what I should have done differently. So we're going to talk about why in a minute. But before we do, I want to talk about the impact on you as when you don't forgive. So what's happening in your life? Can we see this pen on the board? Or is it a bit light? Is that better? Yeah. So what's happening? What's the impact on you when you don't forgive and let go? So I want to give you some, and then I want to hear from you. So you keep experiencing the same problems. Yep. The same relationships keep showing up. We leave and start a new relationship, and it might be great for a few months or so, but then we find the same issues start to come to the surface and we think it's the other person. And it might be, but we soon start to realise that we're the common denominator. And I have discovered that in my past as well, that I kept showing up in different relationships, but the same thing was coming back at me. We keep repeating the same patterns. And that might be, for example, with a boss or a co-worker or a team member. So we keep wanting them to change for things to get done more quickly, or for goals to be achieved in new ways or with more success. We think it's the other person. So we repeat the same patterns in our language about blaming them or wishing they were different. I've worked with many leaders, very fast-paced, high achieving leaders who have a lot of language around their people just aren't doing what they want them to do. But what they're not listening to is that their language is repeating itself over and over again, and they're not looking at maybe how they're leading their people. So that's a really important point about the patterns that we're repeating, especially in our language and then obviously in our behaviour. If you can become a really good observer of your language and how you show up, it's a great way to understand what your patterns are. And so, as I said before, we move jobs. I was speaking with a couple of leaders, actually. There's been a bit of a theme over the last couple of weeks around questioning whether stay or go. And the first, I guess, reaction when something happens or a number of things happen at a job is maybe I'd be happier somewhere else. And maybe that's true. But if we go somewhere else bringing that with us, those grudges or the regrets of what happened in that situation, and we lay them on top of the new job, the same things will show up. So just notice if your first reaction is to move away or to retreat or to escape in some way. We remain guarded, okay? So these are all the things that we kind of are really aware that happen when we're not letting go of regrets and grudges. So we remain guarded and we're closed to new opportunities. Yeah. We don't let new opportunities in. So for example, with the relationship example, if we've got our filters on thinking, I don't want this, I don't want this, we actually are bringing that into our life and not actually experiencing anything else. So there's this whole other world of relationship we might not know about because we're stuck in a pattern that's going to attract the same kind of relationship, yeah? And the other thing that I wanted to let you know is that when we're not letting go of grudges, in our language, we talk about the past. Someone in my life from a long time ago who I love dearly, we're very different, but I noticed one day, it might have been maybe in my 30s, I noticed one day in our language it was very different. I started to notice, and I hadn't noticed it, I've known her for many, many years since I was a child, that her language is very focused on the past, and might have been great memories, or and also things that happened that weren't so great. But the conversation would often steer back into the past. And I noticed for myself, I was starting to focus more and more on the future because that's where I wanted to go. And that was something that really stood out for me as I started to listen. So notice where your language is, even if you're not verbalizing it. If you're thinking in your mind what's going on, what happened, what went on before, then that's you not letting go of grudges and regrets and maybe not forgiving yourself or others. All right, so that's clear. Have you got any others about what you might be showing up? Okay, let me have a look at some comments. A powerful experience of forgiveness. Mel, thank you. I'm just reading Mel's comment. So to this day, I remember the shift when I had a powerful experience of forgiveness. I forgave the man that held me at gunpoint. Not only was it freeing myself from that moment, but it was also a physical reaction that I felt. Yes. And Mel, that's a really powerful share because Sarah also shares the same thing. When she dropped the letter that she wrote to the person who committed that crime in the letterbox, and then she felt really free. But then after that, she was like, well, about 10 seconds later, it's like, wow, what a powerful visceral experience. And whatever you are wanting to forgive or realizing today that you could forgive, I want you to know it does take courage, and we'll talk about that shortly, because it means that we're letting go of part of us as well, not just them. Excellent. Yeah, so playing small is an impact as well. So we're keeping ourselves tied to something that happened, which means we're not liberating ourselves, and all of our gifts and talents can't come to the forefront, can they? All right. Let me know any other comments that you've got about what shows up for you when you're not letting go of regrets or grudges. The next piece I want to go into is what's actually going on, as in what are the impacts that you're not really seeing. And those are, I prefer to use a different colour, but I'm not sure. Can you say that? Okay, James, the red. So I want you to consider, yes, that's the stuff that's happening to us when we don't forgive, but there's deeper stuff going on. And the deeper stuff is we ask ourselves, what am I doing wrong? Can we see that? Yep. And so I want you to start to now look and see what's going on deeper than this in my mind or in my heart. We remain fearful, okay? So we attach ourselves to a fear. So if something happened in the past, say we had a scare or, even a heartbreak, we might close that part of us down and then just come from fear of heartbreak and therefore never take that risk again. So that we remain in a fearful state rather than a relaxed or abundant, open state. We remain in a state of unworthiness. And this is stuff that's going on that you may not be aware is going on inside of you. So because we're fearful, we actually go deeper into a state of control. And so what happens is, if something's happened to us, whether that's by another person or we've done it ourselves and sold out on ourselves potentially, we think that it's and then we have the experience of unhappiness or sadness or frustration. We think it's the external circumstances that have caused that. So therefore we go deeper into trying to control those external circumstances, not realising we can actually control how we're thinking and feeling about what happened. So we go deeper into a spiral around control. And what happens is then we start to shrink our lives. And this is an example of this for me was when I experienced ill health, and then I started to control everything around me, thinking it was things I was putting in my body or on my body. So then I went into a deeper sense of control of what I was allowing in and the kind of people then I allowed in. But guess what? My life became like this. It wasn't fun at all. I had a very small network. I didn't do a lot because I was trying to protect myself from what I thought was hurting me. And then what I realised was what was going on. I put myself back in control in a new way, such that I was in control from the inside out. But have a think about where you're trying to hold on to control because you think you need to control the external circumstances to feel better. And then the last piece here is that I want to say is there's no room, and kind of playing small is the same thing, but no room for the whole of us. And so as Sarah shared in her TED Talk, she was tying herself to her mother and brother who passed and to this person who had committed this crime. She was tying herself to that. So there wasn't room for her creativity, her vitality, her ability to connect and give love and receive love. So she wasn't allowing space for that. So I want to hear from you. What are the things that you're starting to see for yourself that are underneath the surface that maybe you didn't know were going on because you're not letting go? So I'll give you a moment to have a think about that and share. All right, talk to me about what you're seeing here. I'd love a couple of comments just to give me a sense of, is there something new here for you about the impact on you when you're not letting go? I might try the green, thanks. Although the green's not always great about on boards either. We thought we had the pens handled, or I did, but we'll see. All right, so the control thing, yes. I have such strong boundaries that it can be limiting on what I experience in life, especially love. So good, what a great share. Now I can't see your name, all I can see is clinic, I think, but that's a really powerful share. So realising that actually I'm trying to control around me. So I've created so many boundaries and restrictions and I'm not letting life in. So get you on that one. I appear submissive instead of naturally strong. Yes. So you're not holding boundaries maybe? Is that what's happening there? They're very good shares. Well done. All right. So I'm going to rub this off because I want to go to the next thing about why forgive, unless you've got any other comments. So why forgive? Why, if it's hard, and it means we have to, when we're thinking about forgiving, well, why should I, right? Why should I forgive what they did and how they hurt me? And we've got a big story, haven't we, about what someone has done to us or, what we've done to ourselves. Why forgive? And some things that stood out for me around when I was thinking about this topic of forgiveness is that it requires courage because we've got to look at stuff. Maybe stuff we've locked away for a long time. in a cupboard or, you know, in a behind a locked door in a vault in our heart and our mind. And it requires us to have some courage to dig into that and go, okay, what's really happening here? Where am I holding myself back? What am I holding on to? And so why would we? Why would we do that? And so I want you to consider the three wrong reasons to forgive. And this, again, I got this from The 3 Wrong Reasons to Forgive, quoted by Sarah, that you might be thinking of, well, this is why I should forgive. So when you're thinking of, and that's why I said to you today at the start of today, I want you to leave with a sense of empowerment that you get to choose. You get to choose. When I was facilitating those conferences, victims got to choose if they wanted to forgive or not. Were they ready? The process was we would get to a place where, can we draw a line in the sand here? Is everyone ready to move forward? And sometimes, you know, we would spend a lot of time getting to that place, and some people weren't ready yet. And so there need to be more conversation. And that space allowed people to choose for themselves, am I ready to move forward? Or is there something else I need heard? Or something else I want to say? Something else I want to forgive in myself? Yeah? So it's really important that we get to choose for ourselves. So the first wrong reason to forgive, it's because it's the right thing to do. If you're forgiving because you think it's the right thing to do and it'll make you a good person, then that's not going to be sustainable. You're just going to bounce back like a stretched elastic band back into the past because it's not authentic for you. You're not ready yet, yeah? The second one is the pressure to forgive from others. So if you're thinking that other people just want you to get over it, yeah, a lot of people, it's very rare, isn't it, that we give each other the space to just be in the space that we're in. Often we're trying to rush people forward to the solution or to fix things for them or to try and help them. It's all a good intention, but it has us feel pressured about, oh, everyone else just wants me to get over it. And if you've experienced something that maybe the people around you haven't, then that can be really challenging because you know you're not ready, but you think that you should. So I would say that's not the right reason to forgive. And then the last one is that we think it's a shortcut. If I just get over it, everything will be fine. And that's all is fine on the surface, but underneath we know that it's not. We're in a stress state. So I want to be really clear with you that these are not what I would not advocate for forgiving if you're going here. And have a think for yourself if that's where you've been thinking, that if I'm holding on to a regret or a grudge, am I telling myself that I should get over it? Is that what people are expecting from me? Yeah. And so if that's where you are now, I would ask you to let that go because that's not the right reason to forgive, yeah? And so therefore, if that's not why to forgive, why to forgive? And now I want to give you the pathway. I want to give you a really clear, distinct pathway of why to forgive and how you can go about doing that, okay? So let me just check in if there's any comments. So this is from Mel. Even though I know the freedom that forgiveness gives the forgiver, I'm struggling to forgive family who judge me for having 2 gay children. Do we have non-negotiables? Yeah, so powerful, Mel. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that probably, people on the call can really relate the depth of that feeling and whatever circumstance is, relevant for us. And so I'm going to read that again. I'm struggling to forgive family who judge me for having 2 gay children. And your question is, do we have not negotiables, example values? So are you asking me that question around, do I stand for something and be not negotiable on that? Can you give me a little bit more on that? I'm fearful of be hurt again. I definitely do the control thing, yep. It's all-consuming, swirling, unhealthy thoughts, yeah. And that fear of being hurt again is real, it's palpable, isn't it? And I know myself when I experienced really deep heartbreak, it took me, I'd have to say, 4 years to actually really resolve it within myself and be fully free of it. And to when I go past, experiences that we had together now, like at different places in Melbourne, there's not even any trigger at all. There's not even a glance at that place because it's completely gone. And now I have the happy memories, or not even those. But there's no suppressing and there's no pain. It takes time. But there is a process that you can go through. All right, so I want to give that to you now. So when we're looking at, that says fearful, when we're looking at letting go of resistance, letting go of the fear and control, we want to think about, where are we fearful? Where are we playing victim? I was working with a leader yesterday, amazing leader, and the last, highly responsible, like all of you, and to their business and their team and their family, and yet that person could see that there was a victim state going on underneath part of what that person was doing. So that while they would have been the last person to think that they would ever play a victim role, they could see that there was a victim conversation going on in their head, and it was coming through judgment of self and judgment of others, and not letting go of the past. And so where are you playing victim, or where are you at effect of life coming at you, as opposed to you being in control? So that's the first step. When we move up from fear, we know we're being fearful, maybe what we're doing is faking it. So are we actually pretending that everything's fine when actually underneath we're holding grudges? Well, I'm not going to go there again. I wouldn't do that again. And now when I move away into a different job or a different role, I'm going to make sure I don't go anywhere near those kind of people. Have you got that stuff going on? Because that's a faking it situation. You're pretending everything's fine when actually really you haven't resolved for yourself a state of empowerment around those kind of people. Yeah? So this is the everything is fine place. So notice if you're doing that. But the next state, I want to make sure I've got this for you. To move out of that and into forgiveness is this state of feeling. Is the acknowledgement of what is actually going on inside you. And I would like to say there would have to be, if you're holding on, there would have to be some fury, some rage, some anger. I was working with someone a couple of weeks ago who, and I hear this so commonly with women, I never feel angry. I don't let myself feel angry. And that's just not today, that's a practice over many years. I just don't give myself permission to be angry, such that now it's just the truth that I don't get angry. Well, that I'm calling the BS on that for all of you. We all have anger, we all have rage. And when we learn how to feel it in healthy, resourceful ways and process it rather than project it, that's when we can start to move from fearful or faking it into forgiveness. Yeah. So the importance here is giving myself space to feel. Yeah, and that's about acknowledgement. You guys with me? I'll come back to that, Mel, in a sec. So giving yourself the space. So I want you to stop here for a moment and go, okay, what am I feeling? I know you're here for a reason on this call. So what's the thing you came with? The grudge, the resentment, the area that you know you want to forgive, or the regret? What did you come with? And now I want you to dig a bit deeper. What are you feeling in that space? Give yourself a space and a moment to write down some feelings. And you might want to scribble it on the page because you're starting to get angry. I'm happy with that. Take a moment to write down, what are you feeling? I'd love to know some of the feelings that you're starting to connect with. Disappointed. Thanks, Susan. What else? Annoyed, yeah. So can you feel that? Can you feel now when we start to lift the lid, oh, here I've got to go into this space where I'm annoyed with myself, and that's what I usually push down because I don't want to go there. But if we can give ourselves permission to feel, breathe into that, and know that we're whole anyway, even with these feelings, that's where we need to go. That's courageous. Angry, stuck, sad. Yep. Furious. Yeah, so you're furious about how people are colluding. Yeah. Deeply disappointed fury, pain, love it, unsafe. We're getting the rage out, aren't we? We love it. And this is important, okay? The power of our anger is healthy. We need to process it and feel it so we can move through it. That's what I want you to do. That's where the courage is required, okay? I've been there, I know it. I know the feeling of spitting and roaring because I'm so angry in a space that was held for me, yep? And that's one of the things that I do in the work that I do with women, is giving them that space. If you work with me, you know, to just feel how you're feeling. And then if rage or fury comes up, then feeling it. What is that? What do you want to say? What is there that you've just stuffed down for so long that's now keeping you stuck, like we put on the board before, playing small? What else you got? Being duped, scammed, yep. So how do you feel though about those things, Sophia? So if you feel scammed and being duped, what is the feeling that you're feeling about that? Despair? Yeah, holding on to disappointment. The risk I took didn't pay off, yep. Angry, yeah. And so when anger comes up, can we breathe it? So if you're feeling angry right now, I want you to see if you can breathe it. Just take a moment to breathe that in your belly or in your heart and see if you can expand it and just let yourself have it just for a moment. So see if you can do that. Just breathe. Don't try and push it anywhere. Don't try and make it happen or suppress it. Breathe into it. Can I be with myself in my anger, in my pain, in my despair and disappointment? Can I be with that? I want you to know that I feel you and I see you and I get you and I've got you. Very good work. Very, very good work. Yeah, loss of trust. So now as we give ourselves space to feel, and we're not there yet, if you're here, you're not yet here, but I want to give you the steps, right? What happens is we can get to forgiveness through feeling. We need to move through this for forgiveness to become something that's then, hear the words, available to us rather than us chasing it or thinking that we should, like the 3 reasons I wrote on the board before. If we think that we should, that's not forgiveness. Forgiveness comes through allowing and giving ourselves space for all this, and we might stay in that space for a while if we're doing it in a healthy way. And not projecting, we're processing, not projecting. So processing, going for a run, going for a swim in the ocean, journaling. Yeah? If you're furious, go for a drive, turn the music up and scream at the road. You know, go into nature, into a forest and just start to scream. I'm serious about that. Yeah? Because we want to process, not project, even if it's about someone else. And then the last piece from after forgiveness. So this is about, as I said before, choice. Yeah, and courage. And this is about also being open to finding out who I am without this stuff. This is like, can I be open enough to find out who I am through the anger, through the fury, through the sadness, yeah? Because then what happens is freedom. Freedom comes from that true freedom. And this is about when so instead of victim, I'm victor or victorious, yeah? And then this is about creation, and this is about true control. This is actually about where I am in control. Here we're trying to be in control and clutch things and limit things and reduce our life and reduce what we do, allow that's into our life around us. Yeah, that's that sort of control, but that's not real control. That's victim. Here is when we're in control. We're living from the inside out. And we can be in any space. We can be with a boss or a co-worker or a colleague or someone in our life and own our space and say that's not okay and stay open and present and hold our boundary without collapsing back into this, yeah? So this is a pathway, but if you're here, which is I'm guessing that's where most of you probably are, you've got to give yourself time and space to be there and process through that, yeah? And if you need support, you reach out to me, all right? We can do that together. All right, so awesome. Give me some feedback on that. Worthless, yes, loss of trust. So there's some feelings here, right? Feeling worthless. Now, you guys might be going, I don't care about this right now, Karen, I just want to stay here and punch a bag or punch a pillow, right? Do that. Do that. So let me know some other thoughts about where you're at and the feelings if you want to. Because these are strong feelings. So Mel, I'm going to go back to your comment, if I can find it. Yeah, okay, so Anne shares, I regret for not following my gut feel. It felt wrong and I still went through it. And the result was not good. Now I regret what has happened and live in a faking state. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I get that. And sometimes we, in hindsight, we look back and go, yeah, there were signs. Yeah, could have known that. And can we be with that part of ourselves that wishes we had done it differently? Can we go, okay, yeah, I've got regret about that. And I used to say that I do regret some of the things that I did in the past, how I behaved in some ways, how I hurt some people. And I do, if I had my time over, yes, I would do it differently, but I don't hold myself to ransom with regret anymore on that. And that's about being able to own our story, own our shame, and knowing that we're whole with all of that. Yeah? Yeah, okay. So Al says the feeling of anger makes me feel out of control. Yes, oh, very good. That's so good, Mel. I think that's a really important point, that when we go here, we think that's losing control because there's all these emotions and feelings, and that links to the conditioning that we've had that emotions and feelings are wrong, and that as women, we are emotional beings. And we don't allow the flow of that because we've learnt not to. We've been conditioned out of that. No one's fault, that's just part of our experience on this planet, right? But now part of our experience is reclaiming the power of our emotions in a healthy way. I was always called, you're too emotional. I heard that all the time, you're too much. And that was when I had an unhealthy relationship with my emotions because I wouldn't let them out, then bang, they'd come out. Often when I'd had a couple of wines. But now, because I live with my emotions, I can embrace my emotions and use them and be guided by them. They are one of my superpowers now, and they are yours if you let them. So very good, Mel. I think that's a great distinction, that we don't let ourselves go here because we think that means we're out of control, and people will judge us as that. We just have to be okay with that. So give ourselves permission so that we can move through here. Which is why we go, oh, I'm out of control, go back here. Out of control, go back here. We never get to this. Very good, so good. All right, so I've got to keep moving. The last piece I want to give you here, really good stuff, hey? I hope you're feeling it. So what's possible when we do forgive? So imagine, if you can, if you're in a place where you can, in your mind, imagine that you have forgiven and that you have created freedom in this particular area that you came to work on today, or just generally in your life. What could be possible once you've processed your feelings and moved through into freedom? What might be possible? I'm going to give you a moment to write that down. I can feel the energy of that from you all. So we know there's good reason to forgive, right, for ourselves. So I'm going to give you the last piece I want to give you. Now you've got this feeling within yourself of why I would want to forgive. Not because I think I should, or that others think I should, or I should just get over it, but because I know what's possible for me when I do. Because I've given myself just a little space to feel, and I'm starting to see the light of what could be possible through that feeling. Yeah, really beautiful. Expansion, reaching more of my potential and enjoying that process. Reduced state of anxiety. So good. All right, so, okay, I'm going to leave that up. I'll just do it over here. So the three things I want to give you about, okay, so what just kind of rounds this off I'm just going to draw it like this. This is just a simple little thing, but it kind of just rounds this off because you've got a really strong feeling now about why you want to. So, and it's partly what we've done today. So the first one is reflect. So there's 3 things in each of these. So reflect. So the first one is I want you to acknowledge that your natural state is this. This is who you really are. When all of this is released from you, this is who you are. So acknowledge your natural state. Because often this can become so familiar that we think this is who we really are. But what we want to do is build a contrast between what we're used to and who we really are and start to fall more in love with this, yeah? So acknowledge your natural state, and as I just said then, create the contrast. Start to break the piece here through feeling. Start to break and make more of a contrast between what you're used to and what is really true about you. So sort of make that more clear for yourself, the contrast, yeah? And then that's about being aware. Start to practice being when I'm here and when I'm here. And if you need to do lots of this in your own space to start to build that contrast, then do that. That's what you'll need to do, okay? But we want to get really clear on the difference. Excellent, thank you, Georgie. And then the next one is repair. So reflect and repair. So repair is about acknowledging the pain, which is partly what we've done today. Giving yourself permission to feel, right? And then get support. We have to have support, or else we'll just go back here, because this will get really hard and other people around us will go, what are you doing that for? And we'll just go back here. This is where I like you because I know what to expect when you're here. I like you when you're here because I'm used to you being there. Yeah? So without knowing it, people want us to be where we've always been. So get some support to help you move up into your natural state. And the next one is restore. So reflect, repair and restore. And this is giving yourself space to process. And as I said at the start of today, trust your readiness. Do this until you feel compelled to move here. It will be a natural feeling that will go through this, right? With these things. As long as you've got the right support, you won't stay stuck here. Staying stuck here just means you're scared and you'll go back there, right? And then the courage to be without the story. The courage to be the real you, the all of you, the who you really are, okay? So reflect, repair and restore. Ooh, powerful, right? Really, really powerful stuff. This is about saying that whatever happened in the past, yeah, that's not okay. That doesn't live to my values. It's not who I want to be. It's not what I want to accept in my life, but it happened. And I don't need you or anything else to change about that. I can own my feelings and who I am about this. And now I can choose to move forward and create who I am without that story. Yep, you can do this. You can do that in any area, whether that's a small thing or a life-changing thing. All right, so I hope this has been helpful. Know for yourself why you would want to do this. Know for yourself what would happen if you don't. If you don't do anything differently, where you're going to stay stuck. And is that what you want for your life? And then find the courage to move through, because that's what you found today. Together you found some courage, yeah? So I want to acknowledge you for being inside this conversation. It might have opened up big things for you. I want you to know that you can reach out and get in touch with me, and I'm happy to support you and we can talk about that. But I don't want you to feel that you've now opened something. It's like, now what do I do? You have support. I've got you. Reach out, okay? I want to honour you for being here inside this conversation. It's been a tough one, but a really powerful one. I really appreciate your sharing. Have a super weekend yourself. I'm going to go back through and read the comments. So I'm going to leave the chat box open. If there's anything you want to share further about how you're feeling or any questions that you have, I will leave that open for you to share that, and I'll respond to you later. And also I want to let you know that if you'd like to work together, then please reach out, and I'm happy to talk to you about whether we might be a good fit and whether this is the right time for you to work with me or with us, whether that's one-on-one or in your organisation with the people around you and your teams. Thanks so much for being here today. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.